Good evening. This is Digital Vermin. Welcome to tonight's episode. If you enjoy the unknown, consider liking and subscribing. Now, let's get into it. I don't usually take time off. Work is relentless, and honestly, I like the rhythm of it. Emails, meetings, the background hum of fluorescent lights. But last winter, I felt it more than usual. That grinding ache of exhaustion. My back hurt from sitting too long, my eyes ached from staring at screens, and my head just felt heavy. I needed a break, something quiet, something cold. I booked a small private cabin deep in the mountains. The listing promised isolation, a wood-burning stove, and a perfect slope for snowboarding. No neighbors, no cell service, no interruptions. It sounded perfect. The pictures made it look cozy. Warm light spilling from small windows, snow-dusted pines, smoke curling from a chimney. I didn't care much about the decor, I just wanted the silence. The drive up was longer than I expected. Narrow, winding roads disappeared into white nothingness, snow falling heavier with every mile. My car struggled against the incline, tires skidding slightly, but I didn't mind. It was peaceful, the kind of peace you can't find in a city. By the time I reached the cabin, the sun was already gone, leaving a pale, dim light across the snow. It was even quieter than I imagined. No wind, no wildlife, nothing but the faint hum of the heating system in the cabin. I parked, grabbed my snowboard from the back of the car, and carried it inside. The place smelled faintly of wood smoke and pine. The stove was old but functional, and I built a fire that crackled and warmed the room almost instantly. I unpacked quickly, tossing clothes into drawers and boots by the door. The plan was simple. Get some rest tonight, hit the slopes early tomorrow. I even brewed a pot of coffee, savoring the warmth and the smell. It was perfect. At least I thought it was. Night fell completely, and I climbed into bed. The storm outside had picked up, snow beating against the windows, wind howling through the trees. But inside, I felt safe, cozy. My thoughts drifted, half asleep, planning the first run down the mountain. I woke to a sound. It was faint, almost imperceptible, like a floorboard creaking far away. I froze, listening. Nothing. Probably the cabin settling, I told myself. Old buildings did that. I turned over and tried to sleep again, but then it came again. Closer this time. A faint scratching, almost like someone dragging their nails along wood. I sat up. The fire was low, just a few embers glowing. The cabin felt bigger than it did during the day. Shadows stretched across the walls, twisting around the furniture. My heart rate picked up. It had to be an animal, I told myself. A raccoon, maybe. But deep inside, I felt a pull of unease I couldn't shake. I grabbed my phone. No service. Great. The battery was almost dead anyway. I considered calling out, but the sound would carry, I thought. What if there really was something out there? I could see footprints in the snow tomorrow morning. My stomach churned. I got up and checked the doors. Locked. Windows? Locked. No way in. And yet, the scratching continued. Not constant, but irregular, like someone walking slowly around the edges of the room, testing the walls. I grabbed the flashlight from the kitchen drawer and started to check the rooms. Bedroom, living area, kitchen, bathroom. Nothing. The scratching stopped. For a moment, I thought I was imagining it. Then I heard it from the back of the cabin. Slow, deliberate, dragging. My stomach tightened and my hand went to the fire poker. I crept toward the sound, trying to make no noise. The storm outside seemed louder than ever, wind tearing at the trees, snow battering the roof. And then, silence. I exhaled. Maybe I had been too jumpy. Maybe it was nothing. I returned to bed, fire poker in hand, telling myself that the isolation was getting to me. That's when I saw it. On the wall across from the bed, faint scratches in the wood. Parallel lines, too straight to be natural. I hadn't noticed them before. I rubbed my eyes. Maybe the light from the fire cast shadows that looked like scratches, but when I leaned closer, I saw tiny flecks of something dark, almost like soot, embedded in the grooves. I couldn't sleep. The hours dragged. I didn't hear anything else, but my mind refused to rest. I got up at dawn, heart still racing, and went to the slopes. Snowboarding usually cleared my head, but that morning, the mountain felt different. Too quiet. The wind carried a strange weight, and I noticed tracks in the snow. Not my own. Small, deliberate, moving in circles around the cabin. I told myself it was an animal again, maybe a fox or a wandering deer. Nothing dangerous, just strange. But the circle of tracks didn't make sense. They started and ended in the same place, crossing over themselves like someone had been pacing. I stayed all day, mostly in the cabin, trying to convince myself that everything was normal. I didn't snowboard again. By evening, the storm returned, heavier this time. The fire crackled. I tried to focus on a book, anything to distract myself. That's when I heard it again, not scratching. This time, soft footsteps. Slow, careful, deliberate. They weren't outside. They were inside. I froze. I didn't move. The cabin door was locked. The windows were intact. My rational mind screamed at me. Impossible. No one could be here. But I knew with a cold certainty that I wasn't alone. I grabbed the poker, every nerve in my body screaming. I edged toward the living room. Shadows shifted. My mind played tricks. I told myself it was the storm, the wind, the isolation. But the feeling of being watched, of being stalked within my own sanctuary, was undeniable. By the time morning came, I didn't sleep. I packed quickly. I left the cabin exactly as I found it, but the scratches were still in my mind. I didn't even look at the tracks in the snow. I drove down the mountain in silence, only stopping when I reached the main road. The sun was bright, the storm gone, but the unease lingered. Later, I looked up the cabin listing again. It had been removed. No trace of the owner, no reviews, no photos, nothing. I tell myself it was just exhaustion, paranoia, the isolation getting to me. But sometimes, when the wind howls through the city streets, or when I drive past a snow-covered mountain, I think about that cabin, the tracks, the scratches, and I wonder, maybe I wasn't imagining it after all. Thank you for joining me tonight on Digital Vermin. If you enjoyed the story, consider liking and subscribing. More unsettling tales await, so stay tuned. Until next time, be careful where you wander.